So 18 or not 18. iPhone 16e. I was like 18.4. iPhone
16.
16e. It's here. It's officially available. It's $600. It's $600. Which,
That was great. That was a little bit of a sticker shock for sure.
yeah, just slightly. But then I started thinking, I'm like, I was a little off base anyway in my prediction because you forget about Face ID. Like that's a pretty big jump
From Touch ID
cost
to Face ID
wise
for sure.
Yeah, and then you have like the ceramic shield. And there's a lot of different things that go into this particular phone, and it is a massive upgrade over the third generation. There's no question. Like it's just night and day in pretty much every respect.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, from internals to the hardware to the look to the design language.
Except for the chip, which I mean, granted, it's an A18, but what was in the third generation? It wasn't that far behind. Was it
No,
a
it was
A15?
pretty far. I thought it was the A13. Let me look it up.
In the third generation, it was
I wanna
pretty.
say. Oh, you're right. It is the A15. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So what's funny though is that, I mean, this is pure marketing. We know Apple is a master. Like they're the best marketers probably of. I mean, there's gonna be case studies on their marketing team.
Oh yeah.
In future, like it's so incredibly good.
The video alone was different than their usual ones. Like the style was different. You know, the zooming in and out, the like anamorphic style of how things were moving around. They're the fisheye lensy look sometimes. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, they're the masters at marketing. Like to me, Apple's their second, I guess, renaissance, if you want to call it, after Steve came back, everything like that. To me, their marketing doesn't get nearly the amount of props as their innovation and all those other things because, dude, they are so good at this, and they always know how to frame stuff to make it paint them in a better light. It doesn't matter what it is; they're going to frame this thing so that they come out looking the best, which isn't wrong. I mean, that's what you do as a company, but it's just like a masterclass at it. And that's the same thing with the iPhone 16e. Like when you see the comparisons, what are they comparing it to? They're comparing it to the iPhone 11, which shows a huge gulf in performance, right? They don't compare it to the iPhone SE3 like initially. Like you can go down there and you can click the little buttons to get the comparison, but that's not what they're really comparing it against. So that's one thing that stood out to me. So like, yeah, it is a massive upgrade in all other respects, but chip wise, it's a big upgrade, no doubt, but it's not this like if you own an iPhone SE3, you're not going to notice a massive performance increase.
Yeah, you'll notice and feel a different phone for sure, hardware wise and even software wise, but it won't be like night and day difference in terms of just your everyday use. Maybe at that upper level, if you are gaming or if you are kind of video editing in CapCut or something, you know, you'll definitely feel a difference there. But outside of that, I think day to day stuff, iMessage, email, and all that good stuff, for the most part, it'll be just a little bit better.
And I think the biggest like difference is going to be just the user experience. Like having Face ID is a game changer. If you come from Touch ID phone, like there's friction there that doesn't exist with the Face ID enabled phone for the most part. So I think that's where that's where a lot of the speed is going to come from. Like it's going to feel faster, like a faster phone because just getting the friction is a lot of that's been lessened.
No, yeah, it'll just be like ready to open when you look at it, as opposed to having to press down the button or put your finger there, and then you only have your thumb. But what if only your thumb is taken up and you can't, and then you have to, you know? So it gets a little tedious with the Touch ID. But I think you're right when it comes to the marketing piece, because not only did they frame it against the iPhone 11 to show off how much faster and better performance it was, but then also behaviorally or even just like psychologically to be like, all right, this isn't a new SE. This is to compare it to the main iPhone line. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and I think that was that's got, like, probably sat down in a room and they're like, all right, how do we make sure that people are aware that this isn't a new version of the SE, but this is just a cheaper version of the current iPhone 16 lineup? And that's kind of what they came up with, and I think it was great.
Yeah, I mean, because at one time, like the first SE, I don't feel like it had this stigma of being a budget phone as much.
No.
Like, it was a budget phone for sure, right? It was cheaper than the 16S, or no, 16, the 6S.
Yeah.
And so it was a budget phone and it was cheap. However, it didn't have this stigma because it wasn't like this used a home button and the 16 or the 6S didn't use a home button. Like, they were the same interaction. Yeah.
There's nothing different that you have to teach yourself behaviorally to use it. You know?
Yeah, it didn't look all that different. Like, it did look different, but it didn't look all that different. Like, it was an iPhone 5 series phone, right?
Yeah.
But
which we had 1 year, or I guess 2 years prior, technically a 6S and 6 and stuff like that, but still not that far removed.
Yeah. So, and it just, like, obviously it was not the bleeding edge, but it had a lot of the features of the current gen phone, and it just didn't feel like that old. But when you look at the SE, like the SE2 and the SE3, those look ancient, like, compared to modern phones. So that right there, I think, painted the SE lineup as just some outdated, like, stuff, like a grandma phone or a grandpa phone or something like that. Which,
I mean, and Apple framed it like that themselves. I mean, it was half the price of the cheapest iPhone 16 that you literally could. Like, I went on, I think it was Wednesday morning, and you could still order an SE3 right up to about an hour before the 11 o'clock event. So they still had a 4-year-old phone or 3-year-old phone that was available to you at half the price that looked completely different. So, like, the way that they framed it was, okay, this is the cheapest entry point. This is the budget version. This is for those people that want to keep the home button, that want to live, in 2017, 2018. This is what you guys can get. And then Apple was like, you know what? Now it's time to kind of get rid of that and go down to, yes, we're going to offer a cheaper phone alternative still, but it's going to fit in the lineup because, and I also think it's because they needed to keep it at the level with Apple Intelligence. And I feel like they couldn't reduce the price that low with an 8 gigs of RAM kind of phone, as well as having the same experience feature-wise on, like, let's say it was $499. Like, you can't give somebody that gets a $500 phone the same features as the 13 or the 16 Pro Max at $1,300 or $1,200.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there. Like, no pun intended, but it was. Like, I think a lot of it does have to come with the build of materials. Like, I think it is for sure a more expensive phone than the SE3. Like, there's no question, right? I mean, you have OLED screen, you have Face ID, you have this nice camera.
OLED was a surprise, by the way. I wasn't expecting that.
It was a little bit. I was a little bit. That's one of the bigger surprises, I think, that I took from this release. Then, of course, you have Apple's new modem, which they've thrown tons of cash into. And there's just a lot of different things that this phone has, but there's also a lot of things that it doesn't have, which is interesting. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the big standouts that came to me was the no MagSafe. And again, it goes back to, they compared it to the iPhone 11 for a reason. Because the iPhone 11 was the last major phone that didn't have MagSafe. So they're like, oh, if you're coming from an 11, then, you don't use MagSafe. You're not going to miss out on the accessories and blah, 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 blah. I'm sure that's what their mindset was, too, thinking about it. But yeah, no MagSafe is a miss, I think. And I'm not sure why did they not include MagSafe? Is it a cost thing?
I don't. That is really baffling to me. Like, I would love to know the real reason. They're never going to tell us.
Yeah.
We'll never know the reason for the omission. I suspect it's a cost thing. Like, they were just looking for every way they could possibly reduce the build material cost without, like, affecting like major features that the phone had to have to work with their direction going forward. so that this could be a viable phone 4 years into the future, still get updates. And that's another thing that Apple was really, I feel like they stressed this quite a bit in their marketing materials, just how it's supposed to last, like the phone is durable.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously ceramic shield isn't new, but I feel like for a budget phone, it was interesting the angle they put on like the durability of this thing. So this is something that I think they want people to feel comfortable purchasing. That's going to be able to last for a while, and that's one of the reasons why they kept a lot of stuff in, but they also removed things to get that price barrier in check. But I think what you said is right on the money, though. I think even if they could, pricing this at the like 450 area would have made it very, very, like it would have ate into the higher end phone.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, on the surface, it's still, I mean, I know like my family still has the notch, like they're still using notch phones, except for like my brother, but they got like the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It's still got a notch. So, like for them, a notch is still normal. You know what I mean? So for somebody to kind of go and then get that phone for $499 and still get like, oh, why would I go and upgrade to the dynamic island for an extra $400? It's not a big difference. It's the same thing. You know, so I do think that Apple needed to be at that $500 or that $600 price point to begin with. And I think they gave us, again, if you're not looking at this as the SE4 and you're looking at this as a 16 iPhone, you do get a good amount of stuff. And I think it's warranted that it's basically a $200 cheaper iPhone 16. And I think there's enough there to be like, you know what, this is a good value compared to the 16.
I absolutely do. Like you said, I was so super surprised that it featured a Super Retina XDR display. And that's Apple's marketing term for their OLED display, which is goofy,
Hilarious.
But yeah, that's what they call it. But I will say though that if you look at the tech specs, there is a difference between the regular 16 and the 16E as far as brightness is concerned. So it doesn't get as bright in either HDR or in typical usage. It's not a huge deal. And usually those nit values, they're not linear. So it's like when you see 500 nits versus 600 nits, people look at it and are like, oh, that's 100 nits difference. But our eyes don't perceive light that way. It's not a linear scale. So it's a much less of a difference in brightness than it may look like on paper. But that being said, it is dimmer, and it also doesn't get down to the 1 nit minimum brightness capability that the iPhone 16 has. So just another little thing there.
Does because I'm not actually sure at this point with the 16 lineup, because I know that the Pros have the always on display. Does the 16 and 16 Plus have an always on display this year? I don't even know. I don't think so, right? Or does it?
I think so.
Is that what that 1 nit of brightness is for?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't want to speak on it because I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I'm not going to start making up stuff, but we can look it up.
Yeah. So the 16 Pro and Pro Max have an always on display, and the iPhone 16 does not.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, display always on. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then we'll check. Let's go. But we'll keep talking as I eventually find it.
The 16E, I'm going to say it does not have an always on display.
Because I know the 15 Pro and Pro Max had always on displays. Let's see.
There's so much stuff you got to remember, man.
I know. Yeah, I don't think the 16E has it. I'm looking at the tech specs. Nope. So yeah, so that's another thing you're missing, screen or display wise, if that was important to you.
Yeah,
which I kind of like standby mode. I'm a user of it.
You really use standby mode for real?
Well, by use it, I mean I just like it's on my charger and I have it in that landscape mode. Yeah, if that's how you use it, you know.
I don't think I've seen standby mode, but like once, but that was by accident. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so that's another display thing that you're missing with the 16E to, I guess, reduce that cost. And then, I kind of want to hear your take on the camera a little bit, because obviously you're missing the ultra wide lens compared to the 16, but it's still a 48 megapixel shooter. It's got that, I'm going to call it the fake 2-in-1 because it just crops in to give you that 2x like telephoto. But nonetheless, it'll give you a 12 megapixel 2x shot. But you are missing a few things because of the fact that it doesn't have that ultra wide lens, like macro mode. There's no action mode, no cinematic mode, and of course no camera control. But what do you think about the single lens?
I think it's fine, personally. Yeah. Like, I think most people don't care about that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. They just want a camera that is nice and that shoots photos. All the other stuff is just, to me, it's a lot of features that only nerds like us use. Like, most people just want to be able to snap a picture of their baby smiling. Yeah. Like, they don't care about, is there action mode there, or is there like the
Can
biggest
I take a picture
one
of grass grains and stuff like that, you know?
Now, I will say, I think more normal people use macro mode versus any other feature. I think that's a more useful feature that normal, quote unquote, people who don't like live and breathe this stuff every single day would use and benefit from. But I don't think having just one camera is a negative.
Yeah.
I think it's just, it is what it is.
For sure. Again, it goes back to what they were going to omit versus keep. And I think the 48 megapixel shooter is going to be perfect for most people. Right?
Personally, I like the look of it, man. I like the
same. I was going to say the same thing. I
think it looks better. Yeah, man. I mean,
like the three cameras on the Pro Maxes or on the Pro phones, like obviously they're good cameras, but it looks complicated when I look at the rear of it, you know?
And
I don't know.
Like, well, you are a testament to this, okay? So you bought if anyone can't tell, his setup looks amazing, right? Like, because what are you doing? Something changed, obviously. What was the change, Fernando?
I added a 60 mil lens, which is basically giving me a 2x telephoto, but I added it to the main sensor.
That's a key thing. Why did you add it to the main sensor, Fernando?
Because that's the big one. That's the main one. That's the one that works the best. So being able to crop in and still get the the resolution and the pixels that you get out of the main sensor compared to using the telephoto, has clearly it works well. You know, and I saw an immediate difference when I got it. So yeah, I think that one alone is Apple's bread and butter, I think.
Yeah, like that main sensor, that main camera, that's really all most people need. And it is like, even for us with 3 cameras, I'm using the main camera 99% of the time. You can get some really nice photos from the telephoto, no question. Like, you can, like, if you have enough light.
The 5X is good. The 5X is good. I use the 5X much more than the ultra wide. I never use the ultra wide camera.
Only time I use the ultra wide is for macro, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, and every now and then when I just I have to get something in frame. But the telephoto is a nice camera. Don't get me wrong. It, like, if you have enough light, it can look downright amazing. And I'm sometimes just taken aback by the shots I'm able to pull off, especially like architecture photography. Like, it's really good for that. But the main camera is still a better camera spec wise. And you're going to get much better results by mating that main camera with an external lens like Fernando did. So
highly recommend, if you guys want to check out ShiftCam, shout out to them. They make some awesome stuff. Yeah. Because clearly we were able to, I feel like I'm almost at that kind of DSLR level just by adding this lens, which is
it definitely gives you a nice mirrorless look, like, for sure. Like, there's no question. Like, you get the compression there, you have that, that depth of field. And it just, you don't look as flat, because the other one is almost like it didn't look bad. Like, your camera, your shots have never looked bad. They just look flat. And that's what you've done. You've just kind of given it some dimension, which is nice.
No, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, let's see if we can get that same kind of result with the iPhone 16e camera.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Which I'm sure you'll be able to do, because I think it does go. You still get the 4K 60, I believe it goes up to, which is the same thing the normal 16 Pro Max goes to, right?
Yeah,
I think we get to 120. We get to 120.
Yeah.
But Again, I don't
That's a
use
big. Now
120.
that's a massive. Like if you're a videographer or like you shoot photos and videos, like you're really super hardcore into that sort of thing. That's a huge luxury. Like 120 frames per second, you're getting some really nice 4K slow mo with that. That you otherwise really wouldn't be able to get. Like you can do 60 and if you're shooting 24, but 120.
Which I gotta try next.
120 is a game changer for sure.
For sure. What else do we get on or missing out on the 16? Or do we get
missing
on the 16?
out? Well, we get USB-C, which again is that makes it the last. Is it the last product period in Apple's lineup that uses Lightning?
Ooh, that's a good question because they replaced all the.
I know it's the last iPhone. I know it's the last
definitely.
iPhone to use.
There's no iPads. There's no. No headphones. Everything is USB-C now.
Even the
crazy.
Magic devices are USB-C.
Yeah, like the Magic Mouse, Magic Trackpad, Magic Keyboard.
I'm sure there's somebody going to comment, "Oh, this uses Lightning."
It's actually, there's still one thing with a 30-pin connector.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean now all the mainstays are at least USB-C, which is huge. So you literally just need one cable now to carry with you to charge everything, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And it allows for easier data transfer, in my opinion. It's not as fast, obviously, as the Pro models. I think it's still USB 2, right?
Yeah, 480 megabits per second, so pretty slow.
Yeah. But again, for the target demographic or the target customer, it's going to be fine. And it'll allow you to use like USB-C dongles also. So if you want a USB-C to HDMI to your TV, it'll be easy. Or if you need to add, a USB-A port or maybe an SD card reader, it's so much easier and way more universal. And now you can buy like the $10 one off Amazon as opposed to the $30 one Lightning version from Apple.
Yeah,
which I think is cool.
Definitely a nice convenience for sure. One thing that is missing though, which isn't a huge deal, but it's kind of a disappointment for me. No ultra wideband, and that really is. I mean, you're really getting into the weeds here. Yeah, like that's 99% of people could not care less about that.
They're gonna be like, "What?
Yeah, what is
like
that?
Ultra wide camera? What?"
Yeah, like so. Ultra wideband is what allows for things like precision tracking with AirTags or Find My devices. It also will allow you for certain vehicles to unlock your vehicle's doors with your phone. And it's proximity based, so it can be really, really, really accurate. It's much more accurate than Bluetooth. Also, we're coming up where we're starting to get smart home devices like locks that use ultra wideband. Yeah. So that's really cool. So that means you can like literally just walk up to your door and it'll unlock with your phone on your person. So,
ooh, I guess no. I think Teslas use Bluetooth. They're not using ultra wideband.
They do. They used ultra wideband on the new Model 3 and the new Model Y. So you can use ultra wideband on those. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
So you're going to go buy a new one, I guess, now. that sold you, right?
I wonder if I can buy and return a Tesla Model Y.
Actually, you probably can. If anyone can do it, you can. I'm guarantee that. Yeah. But yeah, so that's not a huge deal, but I mean, it is something of note.
Yeah, for sure.
And another thing, 128 gigabytes of base storage. So that is, Apple no longer sells iPhones with 64 gigabytes of base storage. So like we're making progress here. Remember, it was at one time it was 8 gigabytes. No, one time it was 4 gigabytes. The original iPhone, and then it went to 8, then 16 for the longest. I'm seeing like we were stuck with 16 for 10 years. Like I might not even be exaggerating. Like I feel like
as a baseline one,
yeah. And then finally now we're getting up to like 128 is a significant amount of storage.
Yeah. So I mean that's another reason why you might think like the price increased because it doubled in storage. Because I think the SE3 started at 64 gigs.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least you're doubling in storage. So if you were to get the 128 gig version, that would have been an additional $100. So you're at $529 already.
Man, you should work for Apple, man. You need to be on their marketing team. Like you look at you. You're already.
I'm there.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
Thinking like a pure Apple spokesperson there. Yeah.
Oh man,
nice.
But so some last things that they omitted internally So Wi-Fi 6 is compared to Wi-Fi 7, which again, these are the things that Apple, like the fringe things that Apple cut out where like 95% of the people won't really care about, nor do they have a Wi-Fi 7 router, you know? So, you know, it doesn't have Wi-Fi 7 support. And then you also have one less GPU core on the A18 chip, which we'll see what happens with real world use. Yeah. And then even though they omitted MagSafe, at least they do have wireless charging, but it's limited at that 7.5 watts. So it's not like Qi 2 or fast charging or anything like that.
Right.
So, but I'm sure I've already seen $7-8 cases for the iPhone 16e that'll add the magnets at least. So if you do have some battery bank or a 3-in-1 charger with MagSafe, you can easily just slap a case on it and be good.
Yeah, but it's still not MagSafe because you're still getting just 7.5 watts.
Exactly. So it's not a... I remember it was a big thing a couple of years ago. It's like it's MagSafe compatible, not MagSafe certified.
Yeah.
Which basically means it has the magnets. Yeah, so that's where we're at with the 16e. So I mean, what do you think? What are your overall thoughts? What is are you going to pick one up?
Yes, I am going to get the white one and with the base 128. But we missed one major feature with the 16e. That being the Apple C1 chip, the new in-house modem that Apple has been working on for the last decade, practically. Or that may not even be an exaggeration. Like that's literally like they've been working on this for a very long time. So it's the first in-house 5G modem. It is sub 6 gigahertz 5G, so no millimeter wave. But that vertical integration is notable. As we discussed last episode, we conjectured that this would result in some battery life improvements, and that has been proven to be the case. There are some pretty significant battery life improvements with the new cellular modem thanks to that vertical integration. And so
now I'm excited for your breakdown explainer later on. Jeff is the king at those to kind of break that down a little bit for us.
We'll try. Yeah. But
because I mean, their unit of measure is video playback time for the most part when it comes to battery life, and we're looking at 26 hours compared to 22, or was it 27 hours compared to 22 on the 16?
I thought it was 27, but it could be something like that. But it just gets better battery life, like and that is one of the ways that they are able to do that. Obviously, the OLED screen has a lot to do with that too. But the that modem is going to have some battery life improvements. We'll have more about that here in future videos, but it's exciting. I'm excited to test it out. It is it's a pretty big breakthrough for Apple. This has to be like if you're an engineer that's been working on this, or if you're in the leadership team, to finally have this so-called weight of you've been working on this for so long. And now to finally be able to slowly but surely iterate on this and get out from underneath the whole Qualcomm licensing thing, that has got to be a really good feeling if you're an Apple executive or if you're an Apple engineer right now.
All right, we talked battery life, but is there anything else, or is it or is the benefit nothing else should happen, everything should remain the same? If anything, things will be a little bit more efficient. What do you think we're going to see moving forward?
I think Apple's being a little coy, excuse me, about this. I think there's kind of a wait and see sort of thing because this is obviously they're putting it in their budget phone. Yeah. So there may be a lot more than meets the eye about this, but I don't think they want to put all their cards on the table yet.
Yeah.
As regard to what this is actually going to mean. Battery life is the obvious thing that they could, right up front admit to. But as far as other things, I'm sure the vertical integration of this is going to allow for some future pretty cool things. But it may be a while before we see that. Right now, they just want to make sure it works.
Yeah, agreed. And that's probably why they put it in the cheaper one, the guinea pig, because who knows? I'm curious to know how many of these they move compared to the SE and or compared to the 16. Just to see what people's appetite for this type of phone is, And then I also think somebody made a comment to me when it released that this phone was purely made as a carrier phone, so carriers can hand this phone out for free. like, oh, commit, like go to T-Mobile or Verizon, commit to 24, 36 months, and we'll give you this phone for $0 a month as long as you commit to us for 3 years, as opposed to doing that with that regular 16. So I think people will now be, because if you walk into one of these carrier stores, which is still how like most people here in America get their iPhones, which is kind of crazy, you would look at the iPhone SE3 and be like, I don't want that because that looks old. I want the cheapest, like new looking one, right? And that one's always $800. And I think carriers were still handing that out for $0 down, or for like $0 a month. So I think now, in a cost saving move maybe, or in a margins move, now they can give the $600 phone for free and charge for the $800 phone normally.
You're not getting it for free, just by the way. Like,
you're definitely not getting it for free. You're going to sign away your life for 3 years. Yeah. But on all the advertisements, trade in any iPhone, no matter the condition, and we'll give you this phone for free.
Right.
So
with that being said, though, the iPhone SE and the 14 Plus have been officially discontinued. So those no longer appear on Apple's website. Those are gone to the iPhone SE 3, the 14 Plus, and the 14, really. That's still going to be available in back channel, I guess, perhaps through carriers or through partners like Best Buy. But Apple is no longer listing the 14 at all on its website. So we just got the 15, the 16 lineup, and what else?
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, so we got 15, 16E, 16, 16 Plus, 16 Pro, 16 Pro Max.
Yeah.
I think that's now the lineup. But it's funny how they still kept the 15. I wonder who would want to fit 15 now. All right. Interesting. Oh, but one last thing I did want to bring up about the 16E is one thing that they showed off, which was kind of out of left field in my opinion, because I was curious to know how they were going to handle visual intelligence, because I knew that the A18 was going to be able to have Apple intelligence. The 15 Pro and Pro Max have Apple intelligence, but not visual intelligence because they don't have a camera control button. No camera control on the 16E, but they put it in the action button,
which
for the 16E. Very interesting.
I think
that should trickle down. It should trickle down to the 15 Pro and Pro Max, I think.
Absolutely. Like, there's no reason for it not to now. Like, because the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max should technically get the visual intelligence via the action button, I think. And that's something we've been looking for. Like, it's something that it was like kind of an obvious omission. And to see that on the 16E now makes it much more likely that we'll see it on the 15 Pro in an update.
Yeah.
In an iOS update. So we'll be on the lookout for that for sure.
Yeah, it should be a nice little easy upgrade and just give people another new feature that had the 15 Pro and Pro Max and didn't want to upgrade to the 16 Pro. So I'm cool with that. I'm good with that little update. And I think that's a little foreshadow for everybody else owning those 15 Pros.
Hopefully so. Yeah. So that is the 16E.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell. So it does release next Friday. It's on sale right now.
Pre-order.
You can pre-order it. So, and then deliveries start on Friday next week, and I'm sure we'll see reviews probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
I'm sure some embargo will lift.
Yeah.
We're getting it with you guys, so we'll get it on Friday.
Yep, we sure will.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'll be fun. And it comes in 2 colors, $599, up to 512 gigs of storage. I think that's all we got to know.
Tons of colors, as long as you like white and black.
I'm sure D-Brand will have a nice little skin for it or something if people want to. And the cases are already all over Amazon, so if you guys need a case, I've seen some like $8, $9, $10 cases that'll get the job
I got a
done.
couple of cases around here somewhere.
Oh, yeah?
For the
Nice.
16E, yeah.
I love it.
So let us know what you guys think. Are you pre-ordering one? Do you think it's a good release? Are you disappointed? Let us know in the comments section. We're interested to hear what you have to say. Also, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and on the YouTube channel. That really helps. And thumbs up if you appreciate this video as well.
And enjoy.
And we'll see you next time.
Peace.